You thought he'd get closer when he fell for you. But instead, he pulled back. Texts slowed, calls faded, and you're left questioning your worth. Let me tell you something. It's not your fault. It's just that men aren't as fearless in love as they pretend to be. Ladies, listen up. You've met someone. It's going great. You laugh, connect, share secrets. You let your guard down, and right when you start to feel something real, he disappears into the background. Emotionally distant, unavailable, confusing. But I'm going to decode what's really happening. And when you get this, you'll never doubt yourself again. When a man begins to fall in love, he's not just getting closer to you, he's stepping into unfamiliar territory. A place where emotions are raw, vulnerability is exposed, and power feels like it's slipping through his fingers. Love to a man who's been taught his whole life to man up, to be strong, to never cry, to always be in control. It doesn't feel like a gift at first. It feels like surrender. And for some men, surrender is terrifying. Imagine a man who's always been taught that control equals strength. He's built his life like a perfectly structured schedule. Work, gym, hustle, success. Every detail calculated. Now suddenly you enter his life. You make him laugh in the middle of a stressful day. You make him think about your eyes during an important meeting. You make him feel out of sync with the life he thought he wanted. You're not chaos, you're clarity. But in his world, clarity can feel like disruption. Love makes him lose the script. He's no longer the hero of his own controlled movie. He's feeling deeply, wildly, and he doesn't know how to write this next scene. That's why he pulls back. It's not because he doesn't want you, it's because he wants you too much, and he doesn't know if he's ready to hand over the pen. Think about the man who was once burned, who gave his heart and got betrayed. Now when love starts knocking again, it doesn't sound like a melody, it sounds like a warning siren. You remind him of everything he wants and everything he's scared to lose. So what does he do? He distances himself, not to hurt you, but to protect the last piece of himself he hasn't healed yet. Realize this. Love to a strong man is the one thing he can control his finances, he can control his fitness, he can even control his image in front of the world. But you're the one thing he can't manage, predict, or dominate. Because love doesn't come with rules. And that shakes him. Picture this. A businessman who has everything, power, money, influence. But at night, he thinks about that one woman who made him feel vulnerable. Who looked past his car, past his suit, and saw the boy inside the man. She didn't ask for anything but honesty. And that made him feel more naked than he ever had before. So he disappeared. Because being seen is more terrifying than being alone. Here's the truth people won't say. Sometimes, the more he loves you, the more he runs. Not because you're wrong, but because you're right. You're the mirror that shows him his emotional depth, the parts he buried under ego and expectation, and it's overwhelming. Remember the guy who jokes too much when things get serious? Or the one who suddenly gets busy when you start talking about feelings? That's not immaturity, it's fear dressed in distraction. He's not trying to escape you, he's trying to escape the version of himself he doesn't fully understand yet. But darling, don't let his fear shrink your truth. You are not too much. You are not too emotional. You are not hard to love. It's just that some men haven't learned that love isn't a loss of control. It's the start of becoming whole. There's a reason why men conquer empires but fall apart in front of the right woman. Because empires don't ask for their soul. You do. And that's the power you carry. He may act distant, he may retreat, but don't ever think that silence means absence. Sometimes a man isn't running from you, he's running from the weight of what you awaken in him. Let that sink in. He's charming, he's strong, he's funny in all the right moments. And yet, when love starts to feel real, he goes cold. He pulls back, changes the subject, stops sharing. Why? Because deep down, he's terrified of being truly seen. Not the version he shows the world, not the polished, powerful image he's crafted, but the man beneath the mask. The insecure one, the boy who wasn't enough once, the soul still healing from things he doesn't talk about. See, many men are taught from a young age that vulnerability is weakness, that crying is for girls, that talking about feelings is soft. So over time, they build walls. And when they fall in love, it's like those walls start to shake. You become the first woman who makes him feel safe enough to be honest, but also the first one who makes him feel exposed. And exposure is scary. When you've lived your whole life hiding behind performance. Picture a guy who's always been the life of the party. Loud, confident, always cracking jokes. Everyone loves him, but no one really knows him. Then he meets a woman who doesn't laugh at the surface. She looks into his eyes and asks, "Are you okay?" And suddenly, he's thrown off because someone's trying to see him, not the image, not the act, the truth. And truth is heavy when you're used to pretend. There's a type of silence some men carry like armor. Silence about the father who left, the heartbreak that broke him, the failure he never recovered from. You touch that silence with your tenderness and it starts to unravel. And unraveling feels like losing power. So he distances himself, not because he wants to lose you, but because he's not ready for you to witness the mess he hides behind, the man he shows. Imagine a man who's successful on the outside, career sharp, body fit, everything under control. But ask him about his childhood or his fears or what keeps him up at night. He shuts down. Because those questions require soul. And soul is the one part of him he's never been taught to share. That's why when you get close, he acts like you're too intense or too much. But you're not too much. You're just the first woman who doesn't settle for the edited version of him. People don't talk enough about emotional shame. How men are shamed for being sensitive. How boys are told, don't cry, be a man. So they learn to wear pride like a mask and avoid the kind of love that asks for honesty. When you come into his life with presence and care, with depth and attention, you become dangerous to his ego, but healing to his heart. That's why he pulls away. He's afraid of being naked. In a world where men are only praised for being bulletproof. There's a man out there who wants to say I'm scared, but doesn't know how. So instead he says, or worse, he disappears. And you sit there wondering what you did wrong, when all you did was love him in a way he wasn't ready for. You didn't break him. You touched the part of him that's never been held before. Think about that. Think about the courage it takes to be seen. Not for achievements, not for looks, but for flaws, fears, and feelings. Most men don't have that courage. Not yet. But you become the mirror that reflects who he really is, And he doesn't know whether to love you or run from you. Because love like yours doesn't accept the fake version. It reaches for the soul. And when you reach for a man's soul, his first instinct may be to hide. Not because he doesn't want to be loved, but because he's never believed his real self was worthy of love. He might not even be aware of it, but deep down, he's testing your energy. Not with words, but with silence. Not with actions, but with absence. He wants to see what happens when he pulls away. Will you chase? Will you crumble? Or will you stand tall in your own power? This test isn't about playing games. It's not manipulative. It's instinctual. Because love, to him, is a threat and a blessing at the same time. And he wants to know, can your energy hold him without losing yourself? Every man, whether he admits it or not, craves peace in a woman. Not just beauty, not just ambition, peace. The kind of energy that doesn't panic when things get uncertain. The kind of woman who doesn't beg when he goes quiet. The one who doesn't turn into a storm just because he's become distant. That's why sometimes he withdraws. He's watching without realizing he's watching. He's observing how you respond when he's not showing up the way he did before. Do you spiral? Do you punish him with silence? Do you try to prove your worth? Or do you let your energy speak louder than your words? Imagine this. A man has had relationships in the past where love came with pressure, where every disagreement became a drama, where silence was seen as betrayal. Now he meets you. You bring calm, you bring self-worth. But still, when emotions rise, he pulls back. Not because you did anything wrong, but because his nervous system is checking, is this safe? Is this familiar? Or is this different? And in that space of uncertainty, your reaction tells him everything. This is the point where most women lose themselves. They take the distance personally. They begin doubting, chasing, overgiving. But what he's really doing is measuring the weight of your presence when he's absent. He's asking, are you still you when I'm not giving you me? And the women who pass this test aren't the ones who try harder. They're the ones who remain unbothered, but loving, confident, but grounded. They're the ones who say with their silence, I'm here, but I'm not desperate. I love you, but I love myself more. Take the example of a woman who's dating a man that suddenly pulls back after an amazing week. Her old self wants to panic, wants to send long texts, ask what's wrong, overanalyze everything. But instead, she breathes. She turns inward. She takes herself on a date, puts on her favorite perfume, and remembers her worth. That energy, that frequency of self-respect speaks louder than any message ever could. And you know what happens? That man feels it. Her stillness, her grace, her boundaries. And that pulls him back stronger than any chase ever would. Because men don't fall in love with chaos. They fall in love with certainty. And not the kind of certainty that comes from control, but the one that radiates from a woman who knows her value even when the ground beneath her shifts. Understand this, he's not just looking for chemistry, he's looking for consistency. Not in how often you text, but in how deeply you believe in yourself when things feel uncertain. Sometimes he cancels plans last minute. Sometimes he doesn't respond to your message right away. Sometimes he goes quiet after an emotional moment. You think he's losing interest, but what he's really doing is feeling the texture of your soul. Can it withstand a little distance without cracking? Can it respond without reacting? Can it love without needing constant reassurance? This kind of test isn't about being right or wrong. It's about energy. And the truth is, your energy introduces you before your words ever do. You either say, I trust myself, or I need validation. And men, especially masculine men, feel that. They don't hear it, they feel it. They're drawn to women whose energy feels like home, not like a battlefield. And when your energy says, I am whole, with or without your closeness, you become magnetic. You stop chasing, you stop explaining, you start aligning. And he begins to realize you're not the kind of woman he can test and lose. You're the kind he'd better rise up to meet. He looks at you and sees light, grace, beauty wrapped in self-respect. And somewhere deep in his soul a voice whispers, she's too good for me. Not because you said it, not because you act superior, but because when a man has spent years doubting his own worth, true love doesn't feel like a gift. It feels like a trap waiting to expose his flaws. He thinks he doesn't deserve you, and that belief, unspoken and raw, creates a distance louder than words. You might wonder why he pulls away after you give him your best, after you uplift him, after you stand by him. But here's the truth most people don't understand. When a man hasn't healed, he mistakes love for a mirror. And when he looks into that mirror, what he sees isn't your affection, it's his own broken reflection. You're not the problem. You just reflect what he hasn't forgiven in himself. Imagine a man who grew up always being told he'd never be enough. Maybe by a parent, maybe by society, maybe by life itself. He learned to survive, to hustle, to keep emotions locked away like secrets. Now he meets you. Someone who sees past the armor, who loves the man underneath. And it shakes him. Because now he has two choices. Rise into the man he can be, or run from the fear that he is not ready. It's like giving a man who's lived in the shadows a ticket to the light. He wants to walk in it, but his eyes aren't used to it. The brightness hurts. And sometimes, instead of adjusting to your shine, he chooses to turn away. Not because he wants to lose you, but because he's convinced he will anyway. I'm not what she thinks I am. She'll leave once she sees the real me. She deserves someone better. These are not just insecure thoughts. They are deep-rooted scars he never told anyone about. And now they whisper in his ear every time you smile at him, every time you speak life into him, every time you treat him like he's more than just a man. And instead of feeling empowered, he feels exposed. Take the example of a woman who's loving a man through his storm. She listens, she encourages, believes in his potential even when he doesn't. But then one day, he vanishes. No fight, no goodbye, just distance. And she's left confused, wondering what she did wrong. But what really happened? She triggered a level of worth he wasn't prepared to claim. Because when a man hasn't done the inner work, unconditional love doesn't feel safe. It feels suspicious. He starts questioning, why me? He starts looking for flaws in you to justify the exit. Never mind. He starts looking for flaws in you to justify the exit. He may say things like, you're too good for me, or you deserve better. And you think he's being dramatic. But he's being honest. It's just that his honesty is rooted in pain, not truth. This is why strong women often confuse men who haven't stepped into their own strength. You're not intimidating. You're just real. You carry yourself like a woman who's walked through fire and chose not to burn others. And he doesn't know how to hold that kind of soul. Because the last time he felt something this pure, it didn't end well. So now he builds distance, hoping to protect himself from a heartbreak he's convinced is inevitable. But don't shrink to fit his comfort zone. Don't dim your light to make him feel safe. Because your power is not the problem. His belief that he's unworthy of it is. And until he faces that, he'll keep running. From you, from love, from himself. He won't say it out loud, but his silence screams, I want to love you, but I don't know how to believe I deserve you. And the most powerful thing you can do? Stand tall. Be the kind of woman who doesn't apologize for her strength, who doesn't beg to be chosen, who doesn't lower her frequency just to keep a man close. Because the ones who are meant for you will rise to meet your worth, not run from it. He's not distant because he doesn't feel. He's distant because he's falling and doesn't know how to land. Love has taken hold of him. And for the first time, he's not in control of the steering wheel. His mind is running marathons, but his heart is sprinting ahead. And that terrifies him. He never expected to fall this deep. He never thought someone would stir emotions he buried beneath years of pride, survival, and silence. Now that he's falling, the ground beneath him feels unfamiliar. And that's where his hesitation comes from. Not a lack of emotion, but a lack of emotional literacy. Most men aren't taught how to land in love. They're taught how to chase it, impress it, maybe even win it, but not how to receive it. So when you walk into his life with eyes that see straight through the mask, with love that feels like a home he never knew he needed, his soul panics. Falling in love for him isn't romantic, it's terrifying. Because for the first time, he's not just risking heartbreak, he's risking being seen. There's a difference between loving someone and being ready for what love will demand from you. And here's the truth. Love demands vulnerability. It demands softness in a world that told men to be hard. It demands honesty in a world that told him to keep it together. It demands a level of emotional exposure that makes even the strongest men feel naked. So when he starts falling, he clings to the one thing he knows: distance. Because distance feels safer than surrender. Picture this. A man has spent years being self-reliant, building walls, brick by brick, never letting anyone in beyond a certain point. Then you arrive. Not to rescue, not to fix, just to love. You love with depth, with presence, with fire. You hold space for him without asking him to be anything more than himself. And slowly he starts unraveling. He starts dreaming of forever. But that dream feels like jumping off a cliff with no parachute. His heart screams yes, but his ego whispers, what if she leaves? What if I fall too hard? What if I'm not enough? And that's where the chaos begins. Not because he doesn't care, but because he's never had to land before. He's used to flying solo. He's used to controlling the altitude. Now that he's falling with someone else, he doesn't know how to brace for the landing. So he backs off. He slows down. He disappears for a moment, not to forget you, but to remember how to breathe. There's a story I once heard about a man who dated a woman so confident, so emotionally available, that it overwhelmed him. She didn't play games. She said what she felt. She stood in her truth. She didn't require him to fix her, only to meet her, but he couldn't. Not because she was wrong for him, but because he hadn't yet learned how to meet himself. He ghosted her after 6 months. Years later, he admitted, "You made me feel things I wasn't ready to feel. And instead of growing, I ran." That's what happens when a man is falling and doesn't know how to land. He disappears. He pulls back. He sabotages. Not to hurt you, but because he's scared that this fall will end in peace. And men who've been broken before don't just fear pain, they fear reliving it. But here's the beautiful part. If he's the right man, and if the timing aligns with the courage, he will learn. He will figure out how to stop free falling and start flying with you. But until then, never confuse his fear with your worth. His chaos isn't a reflection of your value. It's a reflection of his unfamiliarity with peace. And the fact that you make him feel so much, it doesn't make you too much. It means you're touching parts of him he forgot were even alive. He's not just distant. He's watching, observing, feeling, silently hoping you'll be the one who doesn't turn out like the rest. Because even though his lips may never say it, his heart has scars he hasn't told anyone about. And when a man has been betrayed, misled, or disappointed by love, he stops believing in words. He starts relying on energy, consistency, and actions. When he meets someone new, especially someone powerful, warm, and radiant like you, he doesn't automatically open the door. He holds it slightly ajar, just enough to see if your presence holds the truth his past never gave him. Because he wants you to prove you're different, not with declarations, but with depth. You see, a man who's been hurt doesn't need grand gestures. He doesn't need promises painted with glitter. What he needs is something much rarer in today's world: genuine patience. He wants to know, will you still be kind when he doesn't impress you? Will you stay solid when he pulls back to test the storm in his own head? Will you offer peace, not performance? There's a silent audition happening in his heart. Say, not the kind where you perform, but the kind where you exist, where you remain steady, consistent, real. Not perfect, not always agreeable, but real. Because real is rare. And when you show up as you are, without trying to win him, that's when he starts to notice. Not just notice you, but notice how he feels when you're around. Think about it. How many times has he heard, "I'm not like other women," only to find out they were playing the same game with a different face? So now, he doesn't listen to words. He watches patterns. He notices how you respond when he goes quiet, how you carry yourself when you don't get immediate attention, how you protect your energy even when you like him. These are the things that speak louder than compliments. These are the things that whisper, she's not here to prove herself. She's here to be herself. It's like a man who once trusted someone with his heart, only to find out she was only loyal to his light, not his shadows. He loved the version of him that was shiny, successful, and charming, but walked away when he showed her the tired, confused, vulnerable side. That taught him to build walls, not bridges. So now, when you arrive with authenticity and emotional maturity, he's intrigued, but also cautious. Because love, to him, now feels like fire. You can warm your hands with it, or you can get burned. And he's been burned before. So he'll test the waters. Not to manipulate you, but to protect himself. He'll distance himself after a deep moment to see if you'll chase. He'll pull away after a romantic high. To see if you get reactive or stay centered. Not because he wants games, but because he wants peace. And he's testing to see if you come with it or disturb it. I once met a woman who said, every time he shut down, I chose to show up. Not louder, not needier, just steadier. And guess what? That man, who thought he'd never trust again, started letting his walls crumble. Why? Because she didn't prove she was different through what she said. She proved it through how she carried herself. Calm, confident, clear. Because here's the truth. When a woman knows who she is, she doesn't chase validation. She offers presence. And when a man is trying to figure out if you're different, your presence will say more than your promises. He'll feel the difference in your silence, your stillness, your self-worth. And when you walk in your truth like that, you don't need to convince anyone. You're rare. You just let your soul do the talking. And the right man, no matter how guarded, will hear it like a song he forgot he loved. You see, love isn't about loud entrances. It's about who still stands when the music fades. He may act distant, withdrawn, confused, but that doesn't mean he doesn't feel deeply. It means he's standing at the edge of something that could change his entire life. And he's trying to decide if he's ready to jump or if he'll walk away like he always has. Let that sink in. It's not that you're hard to love. It's that your love is the first that actually feels real. And real is raw. Real is rare. Real exposes everything. And when a man who's been performing his whole life finally meets someone who doesn't need his mask, he doesn't always know what to do. So he distances, not from you, but from the intensity of what he feels with you. You are not asking for too much. You are just asking the wrong man to give you what he hasn't healed within himself. And darling, that's not your battle to fight. That's his mountain to climb. Your vibe introduces you before you even speak. So let your energy speak volumes. Let your silence be eloquent. Let your grace be loud. Because nothing disrupts a confused man's ego more than a woman who chooses herself calmly, confidently, and trust this. When you stop waiting to be chosen and choose yourself instead, the whole world shifts. The man who truly sees you will not need reminders. He will not run when it gets deep. He will dive. We live in a world that teaches women to be good, quiet, patient, while men are taught to be dominant, detached, and proud. Break that cycle. Be bold. Be rare. Be the storm and the calm. Let your standards be a storm no weak man can survive. Because the right one, he won't be scared by your strength. He'll be inspired by it. And he'll come not with confusion, but with clarity. Not with distance, but with devotion. Remember this line every time you feel like shrinking. I am not hard to love. You just have to be strong enough to hold me. Say it again. Out loud. Own it. I am not hard to love. You just have to be strong enough to hold me. Because queens don't chase, they command. They don't beg, they bless. And they don't settle, they soar. So keep soaring, keep shining. Let them act distant. Let them test. Let them fall in love. And not know how to storm. No weak man can survive. Because the right one, He won't be scared by your strength. He'll be inspired by it. And he'll come not with confusion, but with clarity. Not with distance, but with devotion. Remember this line every time you feel like shrinking. I am not hard to love. You just have to be strong enough to hold me. Say it again, out loud. Own it. I am not hard to love. You just have to be strong enough to hold me. Say it again, out loud. Own it. I am not hard to love. You just have to be strong enough to hold me. Because queens don't chase, they command. They don't beg, they bless. And they don't settle, they soar. So keep soaring, keep shining. Let them act distant. Let them test. Let them fall in love and not know how to land. But don't you ever dim your fire to fit inside someone else's comfort zone. You are not the exception. You are the standard. And the man who's meant to walk beside you, he won't be distant. He'll be ready. Ready to meet you in the fire. Ready to love you with presence. Ready to rise with you, not run from you. Because when a woman knows her power, the whole universe rearranges to match her energy.